Welcome to the UnLearn show. This is episode 6, and our guest for today has been dubbed by HuffPost as the Oprah of LinkedIn videos. She's got probably the freshest voice on strategy, branding. She likes to talk about travel, pop, and culture. And I think if it's safe to say for each one of us here, thank you so much, Goldie, for being a part of the show. All 5 of us are excited to have the next 20 to 30 minutes with you, discussing breaking bad habits and how you're going to do it with a purpose and a plan. Welcome to the UnLearn show.
Yeah.
Hi, Goldie.
Like, am I supposed to cheer right now? Yay!
So just a little bit of a flow of how this call will go. The first few minutes of it, we'd just love to have some casual conversation with you. And then the basic outline is we're going to talk a little bit about your present situation. You're going to walk us back into the past, and then we're going to talk a little about what the future looks like. So without further ado, I think Chantel is probably going to kick us off, unless anybody else had anything they'd like to say first. Yourself included, Goldie.
Well, it's so nice to be on this show. As you guys know, I'm huge fans of you as well. And I'm so proud of you guys, taking the time to make something like this. And I know it's really tough to collaborate across. Anytime you collaborate across more than 2 people, it can be a nightmare. So I'm just so proud that you guys are doing this.
Oh, we love you, Goldie.
We love you.
Okay, so will you tell us a little bit more about Goldie, who Goldie is, and your why behind everything that you do?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Goldie present day, right? A little bit more about me. So right now, as everybody on this chat knows, and probably everybody who's going to watch this show knows, I do daily LinkedIn videos. I haven't actually even done my daily LinkedIn video yet today, but it will definitely happen. I'm on video 170 as of when we recorded this. And it's been just like this crazy wild ride where I didn't think that I would have a video channel on LinkedIn, as many of you probably also didn't think you would also have a video channel on LinkedIn, right? It's so that's that's 99% of my life, and then the other 1% of my life, that's everything else. I run a social media strategy and video production agency called Warm Robots. And we basically work with B2B, B2C companies to get them out of the dinosaur age and into this newer age, and helping them kind of figure out what they're doing, especially with video content, because it can be kind of tricky. And really also helping like personal brands. So I've ghostwritten for Fortune 500 C-level executives before, helping them also reach their audience better in a way that's authentic, blah, blah, blah. And then in general, I live in a triangle. I'm currently in Los Angeles. It's 72 degrees. What?
Oh,
Right now.
No.
hate you.
I have this, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this before, but it's like a little cover that you put over a drink so it doesn't get dirty, like dust doesn't go in. But this is mine because it is like summer, which is what I like to live in 24/7. And I live between here, LA. I live a little bit in San Francisco, as everybody knows. In fact, I actually get meeting requests a lot in San Francisco because people just assume I live there. And then New York as well. So I live in this really glorious, amazing triangle. And then visiting Dallas soon.
I love it.
Hey.
Okay. Oh, and my why. Oh, duh. I'm like blah blah blah, and I live so I kind of have 2 whys. So I have a fundamental why that affects the way I interact with everyone in my life, strangers included. And that fundamental why is turn hurt into love, because we all carry such deep hurt with us. Every single person has some sort of hurt or darkness that they carry with them. It's natural, it's human. And my like goal here on earth is just to turn a little bit more of that into love, into something healthy, into something that, you know, they can kind of start to work through it and stuff like that. So that's just my personal, you know, overall why. And then my why in this moment is to be just super, super creative. So it's been just so fun to do videos and then collaborate with people and then do community events and like do all this stuff. That's kind of my why right now.
I love it. I love it. Goldie the giver. Goldie the heart of gold.
Oh, that's a good one.
I love it.
So I guess my question for you would be, so your overall why, turning hurt into love, which obviously, I mean, we can tell that you do that daily, just how you interact with people and what you say. Was there a catalyst for that? Was there something that happened at some point that made that, you know, be more what you wanted to focus on for other people?
So it's so funny. Sometimes you already have your why, like your big overarching why, and you don't know what it is. So you actually already filter your life through that why, but you can't explain it in words. I think we all on this call have that like kind of big overarching why that maybe we've had since we were little. And so that's the same thing with me. Like when I was little, I got bullied a lot. I just was a weird kid. I was a weird kid. Like I used to go off in like the wood area and just like carve my own bows and arrows. I don't know. I love it. Right? I had like great imaginary food cooking shows that were like totally Food Network ready, where I just like played with a pile of dirt. I mean, we all been there maybe. And I used to get bullied a lot because kids were like, I'm a weirdo, right? Like I wasn't playing the same games as other kids. I wasn't creating the same way other kids were. And I noticed that like, even when I was little, like, even though I was being bullied, that actually didn't faze me. Like it was upsetting, of course, because you're a kid and nobody likes to be bullied. But whenever kids would bully other kids, that's when I would always like jump in and then stop them, because that was actually the most upsetting thing, is like, it's okay if you want to like be mad at me for being an individual. So imagine just like teeny tiny baby Goldie, like home size, just like running up and just like going at it. Just because like it just made me always so much more mad, like just angry when other little kids would gang up on other kids and stuff like that. So, and that kind of persisted my whole life. And like a couple of years ago, I just stopped and I was actually trying to find my why. And I was trying to put it in words. And then I did a lot of meditation, and then I came out with this turn hurt into love. And then I realized it's something that I already had with me. I just need to figure out a way to put it into words. Like in high school, I did a lot of mentoring with middle schoolers who were, you know, slower learners. So they struggled with math and basic English concepts like English grammar and stuff like that. So I would spend almost all of my after school time working with them. On top of whatever I was doing at high school at the time, being stupid, I don't know, as we all were, right? But you know, like, because they were so full of, and now I look back on it and I realized, because they were so full of this kind of hurt, because everybody kept telling them they were dumb, they were slow learners, you know, and they got a lot of this. And when I went in, like, there was like a very select group of student tutors that they had asked, and I was one of them, and I would always go in and be like, okay, so, you know, it's not about being dumb. And this is why I tell everyone now too, when they're learning something new, it's not, some of us are not dumb, some of us are not smart, some of it is just the way we learn. And some of us need to learn in a different way, first of all. That's not the way that's being currently taught. And then some of us also just need more time, right? Some of us need more time just to process. once again, it doesn't make you smarter or less smart. Like maybe you also speak, I call them languages. Like maybe you speak another language. Well, I met this guy who's 21. He's a boxer. Like he's training to be a pro boxer. He's not going to college. And he's like my brother, say I'm really dumb. Like I'm not, I'm not like a smart kid. Like, and I was just like, you are smart. You just speak a different language than your brothers do. They speak a really traditional language, which is going to college and being smart that way. And I was like, I bet you know way more about boxing than they do. And he's like, I do. And I was like, yeah, because you live in your language, and your language isn't necessarily based in words. It's based in like physical actions, right? So I like, this is just a Goldie life philosophy, which is if you are different, it doesn't mean you're bad. It just means that you speak in a different language. And we all have languages that we're really good at. Every single person has a language they're good at. And then, you know, I like to believe even Elon Musk has a language he's bad at. It might not be true, but I like to believe it's
small.
It's really small. I will find his weakness, Elon Musk.
Actually, I think Elon Musk's weakness is his interviews. If you haven't heard them, like I don't know, it's really cool though, because it's like it brings like it's a human. Obviously, he's brilliant, right? But then like you hear his interviews and you're like, oh, but you're human, you know?
Right.
So it's kind of cool.
Well, I think that when
so
other
I
people
guess my
write
question
about
for
him,
you is, if there's do what?
yeah, go on.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah.
No, keep going. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying it's sometimes funny that when people write about us, we become gods, right? If they like us, ha ha ha, because if they don't, we become demons. But if they like us, when other people write about us, we become gods because people deify like all our good sides. And that certainly happens with Elon Musk, right? There's literally cults to his intelligence. And it's so interesting that if they don't like us, then yeah, once again, we become demons. But when we sometimes talk about ourselves, we're just human. I mean, I'm a robot, but the rest of you guys are
a warm one.
A warm one.
Robot.
Katie, go on though.
Okay,
I interrupted.
I need to get with it this morning. Okay. Let's see. So I guess if there's someone out there who's kind of going through this, like, you know, similar experience that you had with being bullied, and or if they're just stuck and stagnant, what would you say to them to kind of get them out there and like get them into action?
So, you know, of course, age matters, right? So when you're really little, like, and by little, I mean, you're like middle school or below, then that's when sometimes it's best just to get an adult involved if that's happening. And I know it's scary, but, you know, getting an adult involved. Now, when you're, say, like closer to our age, right, you're a fully functioning adult, and then people are still maybe trying to spread negativity about you, around you, just bringing that bad energy into your space. I find one of the best things, and I just read this amazing book that Fiona Young recommended me, which is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yes.
More on it. And it's amazing because, you know, she had me read it actually because I was upset, because I am getting trolled a lot right now on LinkedIn. And I think one of the amazing takeaways is, does this matter in the long run, right? Does this affect my business? Does this affect my creative why? Does this affect like a lot of other factors in my life, my quality of life, etc.? But overall, is this something that really affects like the main thing that I'm trying to get accomplished right now? And it doesn't. It's just insects is the way I sometimes think about it. It's just noise. Like you know, there's some people that I do, and I did a video about this, I reach out to because it seems like they're not just trashing me to trash me. There's some other things going on. And those are the people I make an effort to reach out to. But if they're just writing like 50 hate messages on my posts, I'm going to block them. I'm going to like report that comment. I'm going to block them. And I think for most of like trolls and bully stuff, especially online, it's best just to be like, hey, I choose to not let you get in my energy space. I choose to not be affected by you in a negative way that gets me farther than where I want to go, because then they win. Like then all the negative bad juju stuff that they want to put in your life, then it actually works. And then you can't do what it is that you need to do. So I always like to think about it that way. And then also, like, just based off this, because I just read this book, guys, if you died tomorrow, to get completely morbid here, if you died tomorrow, I mean, I wouldn't die because once again, I'm a robot. So I just, you know, transfer my consciousness into a different body. But if one of you died tomorrow, what is so interesting is, like, does this matter, right? Does that negative moment matter? Like, if you knew you only had 24 hours left, would you deal with that negative person? Would you go and like spend time and be like, well, sir, I don't know if you know, but, you know, which is, I mean, I have that reaction, right? I always want to tell people, like, you're so wrong. But if you only had 24 hours left, would you spend that time reacting to that negative person? Probably not, because you only had 24 hours left in your life. So why bother? It's the way I see it.
So Goldie, there's a lot of first-time creators coming on to the platform, LinkedIn, and there's a lot of people who've been creators, but who just never were in a spot where they could grab attention and have been trolled. And so what would you tell people that are in that position now? Because it's one thing to not bother, but to still feel hurt by it, right? It's to still let it in, to not deal with it long, but to still hold on to that for too long, or, it still affects you. So how would you turn that hurt into love?
So I think that being hurt is being human, because literally you could walk over to another room right now and you could stub your toe, and that is incredibly human that you hurt. And that's just a small thing, small physical hurt. Or you could go to McDonald's and order something and the cashier could be incredibly upset and yell at you. And then you probably might feel a little hurt by that, or a little angry. These things happen every day, not just online. And I think one of the best things to do is to realize, first of all, the only emotions that you are responsible for are your own, right? That you can actually change are your own. And if somebody's having a bad day, that doesn't reflect on your life. Mm-hmm. Period. So if they say, because they're having a bad day, that you have a horrible life, that your voice doesn't matter, all these negative things that, comes out with a lot more expletives and a lot more bad spelling and bad grammar, as we've all seen, I always tell people this: other people's bad days are not your bad life. You have a great, amazing, wonderful life full of amazing, wonderful people and a beautiful message that you can share. And to let somebody else literally shit in that message is so unfortunate. And especially if you start to own that shit, which is never good. So you start to take it and believe that their bad day is your entire being. And that's what happens when we get super, super upset, is we go like, what? I am amazing. And then you react like this, right? You're like, I'm amazing. What? They're wrong. And then, but you've already started to own that shit. You've already started to kind of believe them. That's why you're so defensive. So I find that when when I get super defensive, that means that I am starting to own that shit, because I've become so upset by it that I'm like, well, that's obviously not true. Like, how dare they? Like, they don't know anything about me. And that's me going on the defensive. Kind of obvious, because whenever you go on the defensive, part of you actually believes it's true.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you kind of defend yourself a ton, it's because it hits some insecurity, and we all have insecurities. It hits some insecurity in you, and you are violently reacting to it because you're like, that's definitely not true. It's never true. Just because you actually feel it is kind of true secretly, deep down inside. Because people say things to me all the time. Like, they're like, your green hair is stupid, haha. And I'm like, my green hair is awesome. I have zero insecurities about that. So when they say that particular troll comment, which I get a lot, I'm just like, you just don't know. That's great. But when people say comments sometimes about my work, I get really defensive. I get like, hey, you don't know me. You don't know my creative process. And then I realize I'm being defensive and I'm owning their shit instead of my own awesome stuff, awesome life. And starting to just recognize that, I think, is actually the healthiest first step, is just to be like, oh, I am getting defensive. And then doing that really tough, horrible thing of asking yourself why, right? Like, why do I feel defensive? Why am I getting so angry? And if you're just like, this is a stupid troll is your answer, that's not the answer. The answer is much tougher to get to, and it's not based on an outside source. If they hit a trigger in you and you need to figure out why that's a trigger, and maybe that will always be a trigger, but I think it's always better to know that you have certain triggers.
So Goldie, you've kind of come full circle from where we started our conversation about where you are today, what's important to you in the past, right? So clearly bullying and being a weird kid has led you to be this super creative.
Weird adult.
Yeah, you're an adult, right? Sorry, you're an adult now, right? But you've kind of come full circle where you know the show is the UnLearn show, and you said that being defensive, recognizing it, and full circle back to your why. So I'm going to put you on the spot where something that you're continuing to do as a habit that you want to unlearn. It sounds like that defense, recognizing it, and then figuring out the why and the root. What is something specific to you that you're willing to share with us, that it's something that you clearly had some sort of major thing outside of bullying or being a weird kid? What is that thing that you're still trying to unlearn? And then the second part of it is there something that this group here can help, or maybe you'd like to share with the community that can help, but we want it to be personal to you?
Of course. So I will share something actually really deeply personal that I don't talk about a lot, which is one of the things that I'm trying to unlearn is like being fearful in groups of women.